Hopefully my voice doesn't crack.
You'll be
But that's
fine. Do you want to take over these podcasts potentially moving forward?
no. Why? You're so good at it.
You are listening to Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.
Welcome back to another new episode here on the Digging In podcast. We have another virtual podcast episode with one of our team members out in Denver, Colorado. Laura Darby, how are we doing here this morning?
We're doing so well, John. I'm sitting here in Denver with like 80 degrees outside. Spring is officially here. I'm thrilled. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I can tell. Is the sun shining pretty well in the windows today?
It is. It's lovely.
Laura, we've known each other for quite some time. It feels like just kind of, our relationship kind of out in Denver, from a firm perspective. But, what I'd really love, for those of, them that are kind of listening or watching is just to get to know like who you are. So, maybe just a good place to start is like, what's your background? Where did you come from? What industry? And frankly, like what led you to Rooted Wealth Advisors?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. So just a little bit, about me is that I'm originally from the UK, pretty much Americanized now. My family and I have been here for 25 years. My mom just recently moved back to the UK, so it's just my brother in here, us here now. But yeah, I've been in Denver for about 10 years. Fortunate to travel a lot of places and to live a lot of places. And I will say that this is hopefully the last landing spot. We really enjoy living here. It's beautiful, amazing people. Of course, I went to University of North Texas and I finished my degree in the Oregon State University. I actually had a major in interior design and a minor in marketing. And when I was going through college, I got into the hospitality industry just to support myself. I put myself through college. What was supposed to be just a few years ended up being like, gosh, a lifetime. Because I was thinking in total today that I've been in the hospitality industry for about 24 years, 25 years. Oh my God, I just aged myself drastically. The last company I was with for 15, and I loved my job there. I worked in the fine dining industry and ran all the private dining events, so super lucrative, great team aspect, like overall just a wonderful culture in a company. And I had planned on being there for another 15 plus more. And then this past year, as you know, I had a beautiful baby boy who was a huge surprise because I'm not a spring chicken, John. I'm pushing 40. And it's just a hard industry to be in and to raise a child. Late nights, the holidays were kind of a deal breaker. And I wanted to spend some more time with my son. So when the universe aligns, perfectly, it does. Like I have known y'all now for, I was trying to think, what, 3 or 4 years?
Mhm.
I think it's been. And I just remember Zach being like, whenever you're ready for a job, you have one. And I was like, oh, thanks a bunch. That's great. I'm happy where I'm at, but I'll let you know if I change my mind. Like, be careful what you put out there. And then, what was it last year? Knocking on the door, like, hey, well, how about that job? And I'm so thrilled to be here. I couldn't imagine working for another company. I mean, you guys are amazing, and I was part of the family even before I became a part of the family. And I love it. Everybody is phenomenal, and it's more time at home. And yeah, the stars kind of aligned. So just to kind
Yeah,
of like a little background.
it definitely felt that way. I for the last few years before you even started with our firm, I probably heard your name in a positive manner more than I heard any other team member's name. So it definitely felt like you were a part of the team. So I want to back up a little bit. So between the UK and Denver, it sounds like you spent some time in Texas and then Oregon as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, we actually went Pennsylvania, Texas, Oregon, Colorado.
Okay.
So a little bit.
So you got a feel for all sides of the states then. So that gives you a little bit of a lot more perspective, than I think most would have, specifically. So that's actually really neat. And I want to make sure we don't undersell, how successful you were, in your, career, right? In fine dining, because, at least from my perspective and I think from yours too, like you were doing really, really well, and was excelling, right, in the role that you were in. So that was probably, I don't want to draw assumptions, so I'll ask, how was that transition kind of initially going from like, hey, you're kind of at the top, okay? Like you spent all this time and now
Mhm.
you're changing careers. Like that's got to be interesting.
Yeah, it was humbling, to say the least. You know me. I like to succeed. I'm a number three. I'm a performer. So I worked hard, blood, sweat, and tears. I invested with the company I was with for such a long time to be the top tier. I was a national coach. Was a lead server in the restaurant. I had the schedule that I wanted. I mean, I was the famous Laura, I was one of the longest people there. Management came and went. So to go from that of something that you're so comfortable doing, and I loved it, and I took pride in it, as you know, to starting something from scratch of an industry that I knew nothing about was daunting. And to
Hmm.
say drink from a fire hose initially, like, oh my gosh, I still feel like some days I am. It's hard to be like there at the top and then I kind of start down at the bottom. But in the long haul of it, I mean, I'm thankful to be here and to try a different industry and to learn more about it, just personally and selfishly too, But I mean, I think we have a wonderful team that's been super supportive. But yeah, it's been tough sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair.
I
Well,
don't
I'll
have the
say,
status that I had before.
well, I think you're earning it pretty quick here. I will say a couple things. Number one, we need to bring you into Champagne for like 2 weeks and go to all the different restaurants and really, up the experience levels a little bit. But I think also on the flip side, like I will say, the first time I met you, and I believe you were working one of our private client experiences. And like for me, like, not only did I just really enjoy you as a person, but you really set a much higher bar in terms of what I expect. And I don't want that to make me come across as like bougie, so to speak, but like it was an experience that even I had never had before. And so, I actually like that translates a lot into what I expect when I go out sometimes. So, kudos to you. Like you definitely solidified some things for me. So anyway, let's start to see, let's kind of start to translate that into, what we do right here at Red Wealth Advisors. And I think a really great question to kind of start with is so of course, coming from, like the service entertainment industry, you obviously got to work with maybe a lot of firms or got to know them, but what stood out to you about, financial advisory firms specifically in the Denver area?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And just to like kind of put it into perspective a little bit, like as you know, in Denver, we're growing rapidly. So the finance industry is just booming here. So I would say in the last like 5 years, I built up a relationship with probably no less than 30 firms. So I certainly to experience a lot of them. I think what stood out to me the most is that, you can have all the experience, the professionalism, you can even deliver, a wonderfully presented, secure portfolio. But if you're missing that relationship-driven piece, you're kind of just setting yourself up for failure. To be super successful. And I think the ones that were the ones that really had that as a main focus point. Intentionality, connecting with their clients, showing them the love. I think it speaks volumes and you have to show up differently here. There's a lot of competition. And it's like, what can you bring to the table to make somebody feel good that another firm can't? And that's the
Hmm.
same as like hospitality industry too, right? There's a dime a dozen of places to go and eat. You want to go to the one that makes you feel amazing, like you said. You want to go to back to the one where it's a memorable experience and a wonderful process and a great end result. Um, so they kind of align really, really well. But I think it's that relationship driven piece that stands out to me the most. And the unfortunate part is a lot of the firms, they lack that. It's not necessarily a focus point.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think that's good perspective, especially knowing, you've gotten to know so many on a probably a fairly personal level, not just in passing or a one time. So I think that's really interesting perspective. And actually, so Alex and I were just talking, he had someone come in and, they got one of our kind of welcome videos, for lack of better terms, and they were like, we wanted to come to this visit because we've just never had anyone go as above and beyond as what we've felt, Root Wealth Advisors has gone so far. And so in their minds, they were like, if you're willing to go this far here, like we can only imagine what you're willing to do for us, our hard-earned money, amongst other things. So I think those perspectives really translate well. So knowing that, hey, like you've known so many other firms, what felt different about Rooted compared to those other firms?
I think that everything that we do here is always intentional, and I love that. I mean, our team here is fantastic. And when we say that you become a part of the family as a client, and you really do. The best part of the job is sitting there and talking to clients and, catching up about their weekend and asking about their grandkids and all of, the fun things. But I feel in my heart like we just show up differently. Like, we put their concerns, first. It's very relationship driven. We want them to have a wonderful experience. We want them to feel included. We do these wonderful client events to love on them and to just make them feel appreciated for being a part of our family. It's a phenomenal firm. I love the fact that we're still like family rooted. Zach has a wonderful story, and I'm always excited to tell people about that. Like, we still have those, like, we're rooted as a family company. Like, I still get to be a mom and be wonderful at my job. And that's really important. And that's not the case with a lot of companies now, John. The family aspect has kind of disappeared a little bit, or it's just not appreciated as much. But I just love like the thoughtfulness that everything that we do has intention and that we
Yeah.
like choose to show up differently on purpose. I just think it's amazing.
The intention, I think is a really great word. And I know that's kind of our big thing, especially for this year, kind of our initiative. But I've really taken that in my personal life too. I've really carried kind of this intention. Like I really do take a step back. If I'm kind of half whating something, I'm like, I need to make sure that what I'm doing, there's a lot of intention behind it. And it just ultimately for, in simple terms, like it just makes me reflect, like, why am I doing this? What am I looking to get out of this? And that helps motivate, me to put more intention behind it. And I think, hearing Zach's story, like I love that story and I've heard it probably 7 times now, probably 10, frankly. But to me, it never gets old. Like when we're sitting at an offsite, the whole team's together, and I hear him kind of telling the story of Rooted, of him to some of the new team members in front of everyone, like it makes me really grateful, like just to kind of be on the ride, be a part of this. Because I think as time goes on, that story, not to say it gets forgotten about, right? But as time goes on, it starts to, maybe not hold as much as it did a few years ago, but for me, there's just a lot more to it. And yeah, I think it just translates. I think it translates into what we do, at Rooted Wealth Advisors, and I do feel confident that that'll never go away. So, love the perspective. So we kind of talked about like, hey, what stood out, before kind of what felt different about Rooted, but specifically, how did kind of the hospitality industry, how does that translate into what we do from a financial planning aspect?
Really well. Like at first thought, you're like, what would they have in common? And actually, I think they have a lot more in common than you would think. Because when you go out to eat, you want to be taken care of and you want to have a wonderful experience. You want to feel like your money was, that's what draws you back to go to another place. It's more about not just about the food and but the service as well. But I think here it just aligns with trust. Like, we want our clients to trust us. We want the longevity of them. We always want them to be with us and be a part of our family. I mean, the core values align with the fact that, like, they want you to be thinking 5 steps ahead at all time, proactively thinking, which kind of, translates to the hospitality industry as well. I think that I want my needs to be anticipated before I even know that they're my need, right? That scores brownie points for me if I'm out, and I think that's the case with a lot of our clients. You know, maybe they're overwhelmed or they don't know they're cared for and loved. That
Do you feel that that a lot of other firms fall short with those things?
I do, unfortunately. I think one of the things that they should fall really short on is probably the communication aspect and the feeling. It's really sad that we have clients that come in and they were like, oh, I was with so and so a few years ago, and we signed on the dotted line and everything initially was amazing, and then we just got forgotten about, and nobody reached out, and nobody checks in, and nobody gives updates, and it's one of the reasons why they're looking to go in a different direction. So I think that's a really big, very common shortcoming with a lot of firms, which, kind of surprised me in all honesty, John, but I mean, it kind of is what it is, but I feel like that is something that we take as intentional. And, whenever they're a client from the beginning, they're a client to the end, and they're appreciated and loved on. And, I think one of our best things as a firm is our communication. I think we take pride in that, and I think we do that really, really well.
Yeah, we've definitely take put a lot of intention behind, the way that we show up, the way that we communicate with our clients. I think specifically, over the last couple of years, we've really, put that at the top of the priority list, and I think it's translated well into today. And I think, what's interesting is like some of those things like you would think are just like a given, right? Like if I'm gonna have a practice or I'm gonna have a firm across like any industry, like those are the things that I want to have atop of the list. And quite frankly, like you just struck a chord with me because like whether I want to go get my hair cut, whether I need my car worked on, whether I need to order something, I feel like so many companies, so many businesses fall short in that aspect. And it's such a maybe it's just me, maybe I'm the problem, but it seems like a really simple thing, to be solved. So
Do you remember Cheers where that line and it's like everybody wants to go to a place that they know their name? Like you'd rather pull up at a bar where they have your drink ready to go and they know everything about you. Like it speaks volumes. And it kind of used to be a big thing in the past, like that hospitality. And then just over time, John, it's just become lost. And you see that in every industry. It's not just the finance industry, the connection piece. And I don't know if it's because people are just having a tougher time connecting, maybe social
mhm.
media, I don't know, other aspects that, kind of affect that, but it's kind of a lost little art. But I always think of Cheers. Everybody wants to go somewhere where they know their name and they're loved on, and that people love to talk about themselves and share things about their life. And aren't you more inclined to go to somebody that is willing to listen and hear all that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so interesting. So then I guess, how does kind of our culture inside, Rooted Wealth Advisors, how do you feel that shows up in, the client experience?
Well, I think it's really comes down to our team, right? I mean, whenever you have a team that's so intertwined like we are, and even with the distance, like we are a really close team. I think the clients see that and they love that, and when you have that client experience and they see a well-knit team that works like a well-oiled machine and everything goes smooth and everything communicates, I think it reassures them that they're in the right spot. Like they love it. And especially being like on the marketing side, I have so much exposure to prospects and to clients, and they have the best things to say. And it like warms my heart when I'm chatting to them. And they're like, we are just so impressed continuously with what Rooted Wealth Advisors do. And a lot of that it's not just one person, it all communicates and it's all the team aspect of it. And it's like the best feeling in the world. It's the best part of the job. It really is. To chat
Yeah.
with clients about where they're at and how much they love us, and their experience with us. But it's all because of all the teammates that we have.
Yeah, it's always fun when we do, like an experience and we have, some team members that maybe aren't, here in Champaign or in Bloomington and, I'll use Joette as an example and it's like, oh my gosh, you're Joette. And like they're just kind of finally like they have this relationship, right? They have this connection, but it's their first time meeting and it's so genuine and it's warm and it's really cool. It's really cool to see, that kind of come to fruition. And I like what you said. I mean, there's a lot of distance between some of the offices here, but we are, intertwined. I think that's a really good word to use, and that definitely shows through, what we do and how we show up, for people, not just clients, but each other as well. So, cool. I've probably taken more of your time than what you originally anticipated. Kind of a loaded question, but like, is there anything else that you want to share? Whether it's about yourself, whether it's about what you do, whether it's about the company, or are you just ready to get back to work?
John, I have a to-do list. It's a mile long. But I'm so glad that I like ready to run out of here. This was equally exciting as it was terrifying as well. Let me just note that I've been, excited and terrified to experience this. But you were a great host, so thank you so much for having me. But
Yeah, thank
no,
you.
like this is just a wonderful company. I couldn't imagine, being anywhere else. And I love you guys, and I'm so happy that you found a spot for me and that I'm here. And, we're trucking along and booming here in Denver, and we're excited for the new things that are coming our way. And we have wonderful clients. Like I can't express how much, like how wonderful they are. And like when I say that's the best part of the job, it's the best part of the job is to learn about people in their life and share their grandkids, and they want to hear about mine. And like it's so fun. Like it really is so fun. But yeah, that being said, I'm ready to go hit the phones and go chat with people. We have our client event fast approaching, so do some last minute things to that so we can love on our favorite people.
That's amazing. We love having you too. I'm hopeful that I can get out there, maybe in the near
Oh, yeah.
future. Was hoping I was going to get out
Cheers.
there. I know, it's crazy. I was hoping I was going to get out there here in a couple of weeks, but nonetheless, thank you, so much for taking the time. Anyone that's listening, watching, if you want to have a conversation, whether it's with myself, Connor, or any other advisor on the team, would love to hear from you. Give our office a call. The phone number is 866-766-8332. And that will do it on another episode of Digging In. Thanks, Laura.
This was Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.